Whenever I see that driveway now, it's impossible not to remember the morning everything changed. What once felt like a simple strip of concrete, an ordinary extension of my home, suddenly became the center of a neighborhood war. It became the battleground where rights, authority, and stubbornness collided. And at the center of it all was her, the dreaded HOA Karen. That morning had started out like any other. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden glow across the neighborhood. I had just returned from my early run, sweat cooling on my skin, sneakers damp with dew from the grass. As usual, I pulled into my driveway, my safe place, my property, the spot where I had parked countless times without incident. I turned off the engine and sat there for a moment, taking a deep breath, enjoying the calm silence of a suburban morning. But that peace didn't last. Within minutes, I saw her. At first, it was just a figure emerging at the end of the block, moving with stiff purpose. As she came closer, I recognized the familiar outline, clipboard in hand, phone at the ready, lips tightened into a thin, disapproving line. It was Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed enforcer, the woman who had somehow taken it upon herself to act as though the HOA rules were her personal commandments. She moved like a storm cloud rolling in, her eyes narrowed on me as if I had committed some crime. And the crime, apparently, was daring to park in my own driveway. She didn't even greet me. No, good morning, no acknowledgement that I was a human being standing there. She simply started snapping pictures. My car, the lines of my driveway, even the potted plants I had neatly placed along the side. Her pen scratched furiously across her clipboard, the performance of authority played out in exaggerated motions. It was obvious she wanted me to see it, wanted me to feel the weight of her so-called power. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen between anger and disbelief. Should I say something, challenge her, or should I stay quiet and see how far this absurdity would go? You see, this wasn't my first run-in with the HOA. Like many homeowners, I had received the occasional letter before, polite reminders about trimming bushes or painting fences. Annoying, but manageable. But this, a fine for parking in my own driveway. That was unheard of. It wasn't just ridiculous, it was illegal, and yet, the very next day, there it was, the official notice. Stamped with the HOA seal, formal language spelling out my infraction, unauthorized parking in residential driveway, $150 fine. I must have read it 5 times, each time more incredulous than the last. My driveway was on my property, bought and paid for. I maintained it. I shoveled it in winter, sealed it in summer, and swept it clean on weekends. And now, somehow, it was considered unauthorized. The absurdity might have been comical if it wasn't also infuriating. That's when I knew, this wasn't just about me. This was about power. I started digging into the HOA rules, property laws, state statutes, anything I could find. The more I researched, the clearer it became, I was right. Homeowners absolutely had the right to use their own driveways. As long as I wasn't blocking sidewalks, violating safety codes, or infringing on zoning laws, I was well within my rights. This fine wasn't about rules. It was about control. But Karen didn't stop. In the following days, she escalated. I'd catch her walking the neighborhood, whispering to other residents, framing me as some kind of rule breaker. Flyers mysteriously appeared on mailboxes, vague warnings about community standards and the importance of compliance. The tension in the neighborhood grew thick. Some neighbors avoided eye contact. Others looked at me with sympathy, as if they too had been victims of her campaigns but hadn't dared to fight back. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't backing down. I began documenting everything. I took photos of my car in the driveway, morning, noon, and night. I shot videos showing there was no obstruction, no hazard, nothing remotely unauthorized about it. I kept every letter, every notice, every scrap of paper. And when I spoke to a property attorney, my confidence solidified. He confirmed exactly what I suspected. The HOA had no authority here. Karen's actions were baseless. Still, she kept coming. One afternoon, she returned, this time with another board member at her side. They stood at the edge of my driveway like a pair of prosecutors in some suburban courtroom drama. They pointed, gestured, whispered loudly enough for me to hear. But instead of confronting them with anger, I calmly raised my phone and hit record. Every glare, every finger point, every attempt at intimidation was captured. By midweek, the HOA had doubled down. A formal demand letter arrived in the mail, this time threatening escalating fines and even potential legal action. The wording was bureaucratic, meant to intimidate, but the foundation was the same nonsense: a homeowner fined for using their own driveway. My attorney, unfazed, drafted a response. If they pursued this, he warned, they could be opening themselves to liability. That gave me strength. I prepared my own packet, a full dossier of evidence. Photos, videos, a timeline of events, legal statutes highlighted in yellow, copies of correspondence from my lawyer. It was thorough, irrefutable, and undeniable. And then came the showdown. It was a warm, sunny afternoon when Karen marched up again, clipboard ready, expression hard. But this time, I was waiting. I stood calmly, evidence in hand. As she began her usual routine, snapping photos, muttering under her breath, I stepped forward. With steady hands, I presented her with my file, the statutes, the photos, the attorney's letter. For the first time, I saw something flicker across her face: hesitation. Doubt. The performance cracked, just slightly, and I knew I had her. Word spread like wildfire. Neighbors who had once stayed silent now spoke up. They shared their own stories: unreasonable fines, petty rules, constant surveillance. My stand against Karen became symbolic. It wasn't just about my driveway anymore. It was about the entire community, about refusing to be bullied by people who mistook control for leadership. Finally, the HOA relented. The fine was rescinded. There was no apology, of course, just a quiet retraction, a bureaucratic surrender. Karen, seething, faded back into the shadows, her authority wounded but not gone. But the damage had been done, for her. For me, the victory was more than personal. It was proof that standing your ground mattered. That sometimes, one person saying, no, could shift the balance of power in a community. Now, whenever I see that driveway, I don't just think of concrete and asphalt. I think of the fight it represents. The absurdity, the struggle, the small but important victory over arbitrary authority.